How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL live stream. We've got the old microphone back today because it is a Saturday deadline. And yeah, it's early, so I don't want to wake anyone else up as well. So hopefully I'm talking loud enough to where you can hear me as per normal, but the mic is pretty good. I adjusted it a long time ago to make it not as bad as what it was. It sounded like I was in a tin can if I used it normally. But yeah, we're back with the Game Week 12 deadline stream. I have some decisions to make today. I managed to just barely watch the price rises. Hopefully that none of the players that I would want would go up. Son did go up, so that's a bit annoying, but we might still bring him in. We might not bring him in. I'm potentially leaning more towards Kane, maybe. I don't know why, but we'll see what we have going on. We'll take a look at the goals imminent table as per normal. We'll take a look at the captaincy against table. So what are the worst defenses in the league over the last 4 game weeks? We'll take a look at who to captain. It's going to be pretty obvious this week for the most part, but we'll still give you other options as well. And like I said, we'll take a look at my team as well. And it's going to be in a bit of a wonky formation as well. If you watch the preview, yeah, it was it's a bit of a wonky formation. But yeah, without further ado, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout. And I don't have a background on here either. Oh, that's right. I was adjusting my my webcam, but it's fine. We can put it back up nice and easy. But yeah, if you haven't heard about Fantasy Football Scout, it's a fantastic members area. You get access to all different things that you can see over my shoulder here, including the stats tables powered by Opta Stats, which we will be showing some of them off in this stream as well. And it helps make me have more informed decisions. I find that stats are very good to be used alongside your eye test. So what the eye test is basically what you see in the game. So if I think, Kane's not getting very many shots off, and then I go in the stats table and it says Kane got 6 shots off in that game versus Spurs, they were just all way outside the box or something, then you can be like, okay, well, he is getting shots just in very poor areas, so that you could discern things from that as well. So stats help that out as well. You can do player comparison tools. You have the season ticker, which is great as well. So yeah, fantastic stuff. So make sure to check this in the about section or in the link down in the description if you're watching this over on YouTube, and make sure to get on that as well. They usually have a preseason offer, so if you were to get it, you get all the same tools that you do if you sign up late in the season as well. But make sure to check the link in the description in the about section if you want to get involved on that one. So without further ado, let's check out the team. So, last week, 69 points, Gameweek rank of 153k or thereabouts, 779 points, closing in on 800 points. Hopefully we can break that, because if we don't, that means we got less than 21 points, which wouldn't be ideal. Overall rank just outside the top 5k, which is fantastic. We have 2 free transfers available for us this week, with none used last week. So we're going to be looking to make at least one of those today. Yeah, we should be looking to either go crazy or just play it safe. I think it's early enough in the season to play it a little bit on the safer side. Personally, I don't think we have to go full crazy yet. I think if we can maintain this rank until basically when we need to start going, like around Game Week 25, like after the Christmas break, when it starts getting to February, March, if we still maintain this rank, then we can then try to make some different moves to push further into the top 10k and see how those go. I think that's what the strategy is going to be, whereas before I think I'd try to make some radical changes. So here are my thoughts. Firstly, I still want more information on Spurs personally, because Spurs, we've seen them play one game in the Europa Conference League, which, what does that tell us? Not really a whole lot. And then we've seen them play one game versus Everton. So Antonio Conte hasn't really had, much to go off of. And if we take a look at the Spurs team itself, so if we go to where's Spurs. So the players that went on international duty, Lloris would have went on international duty. He would have managed to, I think Galini would have stayed back. Reguilon, I'm not sure if he's in the Spain squad. He might have been. Dyer wasn't. Sanchez would have gone off to Colombia. Tanganga would have stayed. Royale would have stayed. Doherty would have probably stayed. Rodin would have stayed. Sessegnon. Son wouldn't have. Højbjerg wouldn't have. Dele Alli would have. Lucas Moore probably would have. Skip, I believe, is suspended, but he would have stayed. Bergwijn didn't, and Dembele would have. Lo Celso, if he was injured, wouldn't have. But he did have a decent number of players. I think the only major ones would have been Romero, who could be injured for a little while. Potentially Reguilon, Son, and Kane for the most part. So he's had pretty much the majority-ish of his squad for the most part. Oh, and Lloris, obviously, who would have been with the French squad. He would have had the majority of his squad to kind of work with. Which means that he would be able to get at least a good week or so of constant training on the shape. And the main guys to come back would be a goalkeeper, which, isn't rocket science, to, play in a system. It would just be probably playing out from the back end of the pattern that he would want to. If he was going to do that he'd need to familiarize with Lloris, but I believe they do that with France in a variety of systems under Didier Deschamps. So he should be somewhat flexible on that. And then Kane and Son, who are, pretty, it's pretty straightforward stuff. They have a good chemistry, so they should probably pick up things quite well. So I think we'll see a much improved Spurs team today. How improved that's going to be, I don't know. So we will have to still wait on that one. That's what I'm waiting to see. Can they put a Leeds team that has a few injuries to the sword today and comfortably win the game? If they go out and win the game 3-0, I'll be like, okay, that's probably good enough for me to look at either Kane or Son. It's just a matter of which one, and that's the thing that I want to still look at, is which one. So that's kind of what we're kind of looking at. The game is tomorrow, obviously. It's the last game of the week, the 4:30 kickoff UK time versus Leeds. So have to wait till the end of the game week to do so. But that does mean that a lot of managers will be patient on like price changes and whatnot. Another thing to note is that Spurs, they play in the Europa Conference League as well. Which means that most likely they can get away with playing a somewhat of a second string team. I think the only reason they played a full strength team was because Conte wanted to get used to his players. But I think they're fine in their group. So they play the worst team in the whole group on 0 points. Rennes plays Vitesse. So basically Spurs could probably win most likely with their second team because this other team isn't great. Let's see, what did Spurs do the first time they played them? Yeah, they won 5-1. And they started with like Skip, Winks, Gill, Ali, Scarlett, Lo Celso. And that was under Nuno. And they were up 2-0 going into halftime, and then they brought on Kane for how long did they bring on Kane for? They brought him on for 30 minutes, and he smacked in 3. So, yeah, the team isn't all that good, to be honest to them. and then being bottom of their group, they have no real chance of getting back into it. Rennes will play Vitesse. If Rennes win, which you would think that they probably should, they'll be on 13 points. Spurs will be on 10. I believe Spurs lost to Rennes the first time when they played. Let's see, what was the result? Oh, they drew. So if Spurs could basically field a much more expensive team in that last game, because then if they beat Rennes, they'll be tied on points, and if it works the way like the Champions League system does, then they will then they'll go through, because it's based on head-to-head rather than like goal difference or anything like that first. So it's based on head-to-head. So they would have got 1 win, 1 draw versus Rennes. They would have been tied on points, which means they go through. So basically what this means is that if you wanted to after this week, let's say Kane or Son light it up and you wanted to get that one player. Let's say Kane's always in the box, he's shooting a lot, looks great, or Spurs are constantly doing runs in behind and Son's the one getting forward, or Son's like playing in a front two and Mora's kind of dropping off as like a number 10 or something like that, and Son's the one to go for. Then you can go early on your transfer Sunday night if you wanted to, because I think the likelihood of them playing in the Thursday game, isn't very likely. And Spurs play, they obviously play on Thursday, playing in the Europa Conference League, and then they play on the Sunday versus Burnley. They then play Brentford on Thursday, on December 2nd, and then they play Norwich, and then 4 days later they play Rennes in midweek in the Conference League. So I think their squad should be fine for that. It's when it gets to Leicester Spurs. I got the schedule up on the side, by the way. Leicester Spurs, Spurs Liverpool, Spurs West Ham in the Carabao Cup, Spurs Crystal Palace, Spurs Southampton, where things get a bit crazy for them. They get a bit crazy for them. So yeah, and then they play Watford on New Year's Day, and then they don't play another fixture, because I think that's where the FA Cup fixtures are going to go in between that and the North London Derby on January 16th, I believe. So we will have to wait and see on that one. So I think that they should be fine. And rotation, if you wanted to go early on Spurs players after this game week, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Hey Zodiac, how's it going? Double emotes. So yeah, I think definitely that's probably the highlight of the week, apart from pardon my yawning. Apart from Leicester Chelsea being a very good start to the week, and Liverpool versus Arsenal could be a very spicy game as well. So it's a Spurs watch party. Are United going to capitulate? Leicester versus Chelsea and Liverpool versus Arsenal. A lot of games today as well. So how many players do I have going today, actually? If the team stays the same, that is. So with this current team, the only players I would have on Sunday would be my 2 City defenders, and if Rafinha stays on the bench, just that. So that means I have 9 players going today. So a lot of fun. Pretty good, but I got huge dilemmas this game week. I don't know what to do. Nice. So yeah. A lot of players going today, which could be nice. And hopefully they all do well. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of managers have a lot of dilemmas potentially. Some teams I've seen, they look quite nice. Um, so like some players that I'm missing in my team that I've been very very fortunate to be dodging them potentially getting points, like Phil Foden, Mikel Antonio, Diego Jota for basically the whole season. Um, so yeah, I think those three in particular are going to be very very hard to be to go up against them. Spurs assets, how owned are they at the moment? So Kane, 10%, that's not terrible. And then Son, 21%. So it's not too bad. And also Son's blanked over the last 3 weeks. But I think today is going to be definitely watch them. Personally, I don't want to jump on them. I don't want to jump on them too early because I want to jump on the correct asset. To be honest, the other thing is that I'm also keen on Ronaldo versus Watford because this is the type of game where Ronaldo will destroy a team that's way down the table um, and isn't great defensively. And we'll take a look at those stats in a little bit. Ronaldo is very good at beating the teams way down the bottom of the table and tends to score a fair few. That's where he gets the majority of his goals most of the time. You can call it stat padding, but he still scores in the big games when he needs to as well. But he does well against these teams. However, United is in complete disarray. Ronaldo had a disappointing international break with Portugal having to go into the playoffs to see if they can make the World Cup, much like Italy and a few other teams as well. So he's probably not too happy about that. So what's his mindset like? Is he going to be angry, which means angry Ronaldo is bad Ronaldo, or angry Ronaldo is goal scoring Ronaldo? I don't know. So, and if I were to go Ronaldo, it would be just for a 1 week thing because then they have Chelsea and they have Arsenal afterwards. And I would force myself into going Kane, um, unless I wanted to take a hit because for Ronaldo I have to use 2 transfers. And if I definitely wanted Son and was like, oh, I definitely want Son, he looks better on the eye test. Then if I wanted to get rid of Kane, and go for Son specifically, then it would be a hit, which would not be ideal. Having jumped the gun a bit early. If you end up with extra time before deadline, would you mind helping with my dilemmas only if there's extra time? I mean, you can post your team in the chat and we can definitely help you out, Zodiac. For sure. We can definitely help you out. I'm more than happy. I will always prioritize the chat and their questions over basically anything, unless it's 5 minutes ago and I haven't made my transfers, in which case, yeah. Can you post your Twitter post? Sure. I'll have to copy it and put it in a different window, or you could copy your if you at me on Twitter and just let me know, and then I can bring it up on a different monitor. I can do that too, if you've done that. Let me open up a new window. And bring up Le Twitter. I blocked messages on Twitter. No, just all right. Hold on. Let me. How do I change the settings? Message settings. Okay, you should be able to send me a message. Try now. You should be able to send me a message. There we go. Yeah, got it. Right. Let me just go back to... Oh. Okay, so you have... So it says, hello, FPL Brainiacs out there. Hi. If this was your team, what would you do? Game week 12, 2 free transfers, 5 mil in the bank. Sounds like my team. Not transferring out Sanchez. Okay, 32k overall rank. I considered this, but what would you do? Havertz to Jota, Antonio / Jimenez to Ronaldo. Please help me, I'm confused. Right, let's see. So, your goalkeeper situation's fine. You could just play Ben Foster. You don't need to make a goalkeeper transfer because Sanchez is only about 1 week. So I think that's fine. Sissoko is just a budget midfielder, so we're not transferring out him. I'm just eliminating all the options basically here. In Bomo and Tony, you want to keep this week. Jimenez has good fixtures afterwards. Antonio, if you've kept him now, you might as well just keep him until his good run in game week 16. Livramento, Chilwell, Trent, Cancelo, all fine. Salah's fine. Yeah, I mean, this is very similar to a team I looked at earlier on this week as well. And I think, so if it was me personally, I would do Havertz to Jota. But that's just me personally. And then roll the other transfer. That's just me. The other option is that if you don't want to... if you don't want to have double Brentford, and you feel like Brentford's not going to be great, you can go and Bomo straight to Son and then save the other transfer, and you have like 0.2 or whatever it is left in the bank, 0.1. That would be the only two things that I could realistically think of, although Havertz is most likely going to start, and Leicester haven't been great. They also don't have Ndidi as well. So that would be my two things. Those would be the only two I could realistically think of, to be honest. Because the rest of the team's fine. That'd be the only thing. That would be the only thing that I can think of. If I don't get in Ronaldo, Kane this week, would be scary to go without for a few weeks, or just get in on next week. Yeah, you could just get in on them next week. So you have 5 million in the bank. If you wanted to go early, you could go Son early. But like I said, the only one that I would potentially do, like if it was me personally, I don't think Havertz has been playing that well. Can he score versus Leicester? Yes, but Jota could do good versus Arsenal too. Jota's very good at heading the ball, and Arsenal's defense historically hasn't been very good from set pieces or crosses. They have shored up the defense a little bit, but if you want to get some rank rise from your Liverpool players, Jota would be the one to go for. And then you could bank the other transfer. You would get more money because Havertz is 8-1, so you get an extra 0.6, so that's 5.6. And then if you wanted to ditch Antonio for 3 weeks to bring in Kane, because you can always get Antonio back in the place of Jimenez after he plays Burnley, if you wanted to. And you could set yourself up for just 2 free transfers when that comes as well. So for me, if I was playing this team, basically what I would do is I'd get rid of Havertz, bring in Jota, roll the other transfer, have 5.6 million in the bank. After this week, get rid of Antonio for Kane. Antonio, I would assume you probably have a sell value if you've had him all this time, around, we'll say like 7.8 million. So you have up to what? 13 plus million. So you'd have Kane plus an extra 1 or so, which you can just bank basically, and continue to play the team normally. I get 8 for Antonio. He's worth 8 too. Okay, so you get 8 for Antonio. So you'd have 8 plus 5, 6. That's 13.6. If you brought in Kane, you would have 1.4 million. So if you wanted to upgrade Duffy to a Region or Emerson Royale, you could do, if you felt that one of those fullbacks was good. You could potentially go for John Stones or Laporte as a double city option as well. You can go for Reece James if you wanted to at that point too. But then what you just need to make sure you do is that in game week 16, if you do get rid of Antonio, then you have the money to get him back, basically. Yeah. But that's just me, personally. I know some managers will be hanging on to Havertz, because, playing up front for Chelsea, best team in the league, it does feel good to have a player that playing it up front for the best team in the league, to be honest. And doesn't matter about his form at the beginning of the season. Lukaku's not back yet. Werner will probably be on the bench. Favor Ronaldo over Kane? Yeah, I mean, that works too as well. But Ronaldo's only good for just this 1 week, and then he plays Chelsea, which is going to be difficult. Also remember, over the Christmas period, Ronaldo could be rotated one of these games because Solskjaer has benched him before, so we shall see. Whereas Kane just will play every game because it's Harry Kane. And in Conte's system, Kane will have to do a lot less running. Well, I wouldn't say a lot less running, but they have more players to press with in Conte's system rather than just Kane being one main guy up by himself. Type fixtures, everyone will be rotated, really, but Ronaldo could be rotated. So, yeah. All right. So. Okay, so I can close that. But yeah, I do like the prospect of Ronaldo in this week. If you can get him in one, and then save a transfer and then go into next week with 2, because then you could still get Son if you wanted to. And, if Kane didn't look as great, but Son looked fantastic, then you can go for that. Especially since CR7 is old, but on the other hand, only really needs him for top 4. Yeah, I think personally you should be playing Ronaldo every game unless he literally tells you not to. In which case, then he shouldn't be in the squad at all. That's just my thing. Ronaldo is a very different 36, 37, however old he is, year-old. He has a freakish metabolism, freakish body. He's just different. And yeah, especially since Cavani's out, because the drop-off is massive. Yeah, I think like his body is like his body's like that of a 20, like a mid to late 20-year-old or something like that, which is mental. He is a bit on the ridiculous side. But yeah, so I think whichever plan you go for, just make sure that you're doing the decisions based off what you want to do. That's the main thing. So like me personally, I don't want to go for Kane. I don't want to go for Ronaldo. I was like that at the beginning of the international break, and I have to remind myself that's what I was like at the beginning of the international break. It doesn't matter if Kane scored 18 versus, the under 14s that play around the corner. It doesn't matter. That doesn't change my mind. Is what Kane does in FPL, what Kane does in the Premier League. He's going up against a Leeds team that's high intensity. Will he be able to, get the ball? If he's able to get the ball successfully and is able to do some damage, versus a weakened Leeds team, then he can do some damage versus Burnley, who've been bad defensively. He can do some damage versus Brentford, and he can do some damage versus Norwich. Then I'll be intrigued. But I need to see that. I'm sure CR7 will get a double return this game week. Well, a very mad Ronaldo might just do that, potentially. He might just do that. And for those going for Ronaldo and then getting Kane afterwards, that's the only thing that I don't want to do. Is I like the prospect of getting Ronaldo this week. I think Ronaldo is the best captaincy option this week, personally, because of playing Watford. And if we actually take it, let's bring into the captaincy against table. So this is the Fantasy Football Scout members area table that we have, that is powered by Opta Stats. This is over the last 4 game weeks. So you can see the 2 worst defenses in the league are Man United and Watford. Watford have conceded 13 headed attempts at goal, which is quite high. 10 big chances, and they should have conceded about 8 goals. So, and Ronaldo is very good at heading the ball. He's very good at scoring. So yeah, he would be somebody that would be top of my list for the best captaincy shout this week, to be honest. Ronaldo want to prove he's the best and don't want people to think he's last game weeks and that this is actually his level. Yeah, I mean Ronaldo is. I mean he's still ridiculous, isn't he? Like at his age, he is ridiculous. Like United have been playing terrible this whole season and even majority of last season. They managed to somehow get second. This season, their moments haven't been as many as they would have liked, and their defense has been terrible. So those moments come few and far between, which means they end up losing or drawing games when they would have won or drawn them last year. And everything's going through Ronaldo. If Ronaldo doesn't score, United don't score. Like if you remove Ronaldo's goals in the Champions League, United would have 2 points in the group, or something like that. Also in the Premier League, if you remove David De Gea's world-class saves, we would have lost 6-0 to City. We would have probably lost by more to Liverpool. We would have lost games that we would have potentially drawn or won. You know, a lot of different ways going for it. But yeah, so we have this table organized by XG conceded. And as you can see, Watford is a very bad defense. And they're going to probably just defend. So that's the only thing that I think that they're going to try to do. They're going to try to be compact, low block, and they're going to try to use the pace of King and Sarr and Dennis and players like that to hit them on the break, which United tend to struggle versus. So that's another reason, which I would say is probably not the greatest. United is horrible, but I just got the CR7 feeling at the moment. We have seen the last, also in the Champions League, if they're up against the wall, CR7 is there, he's always there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. That is true. Also, there are rumors that Donny van de Beek and Jadon Sancho are starting today as well, which gives me some type of optimism. But again, you can take players that have been in and out of the team, or in Donny's case, just out of the team. You can't expect them to do something ridiculous right off the bat. I mean, it's versus Watford, so it's going to be should be a very straightforward performance no matter who you put out there because of how bad their defense is. But United seems to make things difficult, so we will see. I'm glad to see you got a massive season compared to last season. Well, don't write it off yet. It's only 11 game weeks in, so hopefully we can still continue it. But if we're sitting like this come game week 25 onwards, then we'll be looking good. We'll be looking good. So hopefully we can keep it up and making right decisions. Which is why I think this week is more about gathering information for me personally, the way my team is set up. And I think we could still do okay because we still have some interesting, differentials. Like Sam Maximin versus Brentford could do well, as an example, if we were to keep him. Because Brentford's defense hasn't been great. And that's someone that not everyone's going to have. Not everyone's going to have Raul Jimenez. Second City defense. City will probably keep a clean sheet, you would think, versus Everton on Sunday. But yeah, we shall see. But yeah, that's the That's what the scout cast call the whipping boys table, which is basically who has the worst defense. Would you consider to follow your heart or go against a 48% owned even if your rank is good, or would you be too scared and protect rank or attack ranks? Depends on what point in the season. If I'm, let's say, 5k, like let's say it's this point in the season, 5k, someone's at 48% owned across the whole game. I don't care. If I think that they're bad or not the greatest FPL asset, you can't have everyone. So I'll use a prime example. I don't know what percent owned he is right now, but I think he is very highly owned. Mikel Antonio, he's 50% owned. Yeah, I haven't had Antonio for a few weeks now. Yeah, Antonio could burn me. Doesn't make a difference to me. If he burns me, he burns me. He should have burnt me the last couple of weeks. West Ham have scored 7 goals. And I didn't expect that they would do that. They played Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Spurs. They scored 8 goals in that time. And Antonio only scored 1 goal and got no assists. But I also got rid of him on the wild card when he didn't get anything versus Brentford. Then that was kind of the reason for me to go for it at that point, because I said, well, Antonio's probably not going to get anything versus Spurs. He did. He might get something versus Villa. He didn't. He's not going to get anything from Liverpool. He didn't, even though they beat Liverpool, which was surprising. Wolves, he could get something. Brighton, he could get something. Chelsea and City, I don't think he could. Brighton, I don't think they're going to get absolutely smacked by West Ham. And Wolves, I don't think will either. So I think out of these next 4, if you told me over a 7-game week period, Antonio would score 2 to 3 goals tops, I would have been like, okay, I can get rid of him. That's fine. In my opinion. Because if as long as he's not doing this, then we're okay. Then we're fine. So yeah, I would say today's game is probably the one I would worry the most about Antonio. Wolves away. Wolves are still tricky, but also with the jam-packed schedule, I mean, they don't need to play him in Europa League, so versus City, I don't expect them to get anything. Against the bigger teams, you don't expect him to get anything. He didn't get anything versus Liverpool. Other players did. I mean, it seems like he's playing more provider at the moment as well, because when West Ham play against a big team, they sit back, they defend, they hit on the break, they look for set pieces. Antonio's not involved in set pieces at all unless he's heading the ball in himself. But they typically target the likes of Dawson, Ogbonna when he was fit, Kurt Zuma, these sorts of players. And then you got to get the guys who are either in defense, which aren't the greatest assets in the world, but you get the guys who take the corners. So the Cresswells, the Fornals, the Bowens. And Bowen is the one that's mainly kind of getting the ball on the end of these counterattacks. So I would say Bowen would be the most threatening one at the moment, to be honest. So yeah, Antonio would be scary in theory, but if I dodge points, if he dodges points this week again versus Wolves, in the bunch of games today, then I'm home clear. And Molineux is difficult to go to, so well, at least I would think I'd be in the clear. Like I said, I don't expect them to go massive versus Brighton, Chelsea, or Man City, to be honest. Brighton don't typically give up a crazy amount of goals normally. Chelsea and Man City are very stingy at the back as well, so Antonio might find it more difficult. So yeah. Would you start Livramento over any of your starting 11 if I had him? Let's see. I would consider starting Livramento over. I'd have to do it for one of my defenders in theory. Probably not, because I think City will get a clean sheet today versus Everton. And I think if there's one thing that Dean Smith is good at is he hates FPL managers, so he's going to want to wipe out the clean sheet versus Southampton today in his first game as Norwich manager. So, but would I start Livramento? Let's say I didn't have 5 defenders. Let's pretend Diaz was a midfielder hypothetically. He's Foden, let's say. Would I start Livramento over one of my forwards potentially? I would potentially start him over Jimenez or Saint Maximin maybe. But typically I like to favor the attacker, but I would not start him over Diaz, to be honest. Yeah, Dean Smith, he said something about like I live in the real world, not the fantasy world, or something like that. I should probably get a soundbite of that. So yeah, he said that, and it was taken as like a meme or whatever. Yeah, bit interesting there. Let's take a look at the goals imminent table and the captaincy decisions this week. So this is a goals imminent table. So Zodiac, you're probably not going to like this, but Ronaldo's on the goals imminent table, which means that he's taken a lot of shots and hasn't scored as many goals as what he probably should have. So that could push you more maybe towards your decision. I don't think I would get rid of Antonio this week. Personally, because he does play Wolves. Wolves recently haven't been great defensively, so if he dodges points this week, then I'll be considered very fortunate. I would say, especially the way West Ham are playing. He's the main concern. Jota is kind of whatever. Foden's kind of whatever. Son and Kane are whatever. We can get on them later. This week Ronaldo's owned enough, but not really the biggest threat in the world. It's mainly Antonio, really, would be the one that would burn me the most. I think at my rank he was like 85-90% owned or something. So if he goes big, that that affects me a lot, but it's just the one player. So yeah, we just have to hope that doesn't happen. We also have Ivan Toney on here, who, I mean, he should have scored about 15 goals by now. He should have also got a lot of assists, but anyway. He's not doing, he's doing slightly below par. A lot of FPL managers are making it seem like he's doing terrible. He's not. He's doing okay. Remember, he's a championship striker who's only had one other appearance like in the Premier League. I think it was with Newcastle, I want to say, who he plays today. So he should be, I think he should do well today, I think. Redmond's on there, Nordgaard from Brentford as well, Damari Gray, João Cancelo, who's taken as many shots as Salah over the last 4 game weeks, and then Jared Bowen, someone who's getting plenty of big chances. So if I'm expecting somebody to score for West Ham today, it's going to be Bowen. So if you're looking for a budget midfielder, he is the one to go for. Moving on to the captaincy discussion. So basically what I've done is I've gone through and I've organized all of the players that I think have a good fixture or could potentially do some damage this week, and organize it by expected goal involvement. And surprise, surprise, Salah's at the top of that list. I even put Mbeumo and Tony on there for fun, but they're in the bottom 3 with Jamie Vardy. So if you had Jamie Vardy this week, I would not be shocked if Jamie Vardy did score versus Chelsea, because a lot of managers are going from Vardy to the likes of Kane or Ronaldo this week, who are actually in the bottom half of this table. They're even below Kai Havertz for expected goal involvement over the past 4 game weeks. So read into that what you will. But again, Kane and Ronaldo do very well at scoring versus teams that are quite disorganized and in the lower kind of realms of the Premier League table. One that's interesting on this list is actually Phil Foden. Phil Foden is playing against a Everton side that are depleted at the back in terms of their coverage in front of the back, like Decore and whatnot. They don't have a focal point in Calvert-Lewin, and they've kind of had to put Richarlison to the Wolves, who's literally going to be their only counter-attacking threat today. And as long as Diaz and Stones can manage that and City will just keep the ball, I think a differential captaincy shout could be Phil Foden this week, to be honest. I didn't have him on my captaincy video um, which is an oversight. And also João Cancelo as well. João Cancelo, if you think he's getting a clean sheet today, he could be on for a ridiculous haul as well. On the goals minute table, let's say he puts one in the back of the net or gets an assist, goal and assist, you know, could be something crazy there too. But captain defender is always risky because the second they score, you're like, okay, well, you know, not ideal, but could be another one to go for. Antonio is on there as well. We're looking for another differential pick. But Wolves is always a tough place to go. That's actually one thing I wanted to check. Let's see. Wolves versus West Ham history. I'm going to see the last few times they played against each other. Let's see. Wolves and West Ham. And let's see how it goes. So I'm going to open up the last... This dates back to 2018, so this last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Premier League games that they played against each other. David Moyes' team, the last time they played, it was against Nuno Espirito Santo on the 5th of April 2021. Lingard, Fornals, and Bowen all scored that day. In September 2020, Jared Bowen scored twice. Raul Jimenez got an own goal. That doesn't bode well. And Sebastian Haller scored that day as well. Antonio did start as well. So again, this is Jared Bowen. Wolves could be his team. Then it was a 2-0 defeat. Raul Jimenez and Pedro Neto scored that day. Antonio and Bowen played as well, but they did not score. 4th of December 2019. Catrone and Dendoncker scored. This was on the Pellegrini. Antonio did not play in this one. Antonio played in a 3-0 beating of Nuno Espirito Santo under Manuel Pellegrini with Raul Jimenez, Roman Saiz. Raul Jimenez on the brace and Saiz getting a goal in the second half. Antonio Arnautovic started that day. And then a 1-0 defeat in September 2018 where Antonio played to a goal in the 90th minute by Adama Traore, of all people. So Antonio hasn't scored scored against Wolves in the last 6 Premier League games. So does not bode well for Antonio scoring. And the last time after that they played in the Premier League would have been 2011. So that's a long time ago. So yeah, Antonio in this iteration basically of this Wolves team has not scored versus Wolves. So one to also keep note of as well. Right. Now it's time to make some decisions here. So 2 free transfers, 5 million in the bank. My decision, I think, is to do something really, really boring, honestly. I think St. Maximin, the more and more I thought about it, could do something. Had some time on the training ground with Eddie Howe before he's had to go and isolate. He's probably still going to be in contact during the game. And we might see a more attacking, open Brentford versus Newcastle game, which could be very, very interesting. The one thing that I still want to do, though, is I still want to maintain Ramsdale or I want to maintain Guaita long term and potentially get rid of Ramsdale if he goes up one more time in price. Because if he goes up one more time, I can sell him for 0.1 more, which would be quite nice. If we look at it here, I bought him for 4.5. If he goes up to 4.9, I can sell him for 4.7, which would be quite good. And the 0.1 could come in handy. So this is my thinking. And we got less than 10 minutes to do it. So would be to bring in... I'm close to confirm the CR7 transfer. Hey, if you think he's going to do well, go for it. Definitely go for it. I would wholeheartedly agree with whatever decisions you decide to make, as long as you feel that it's the right decision for your team. That's all that matters. we'd bring in Guaita, we'd then roll the transfer, we'd then go into next week with 2 free transfers. So St. Maximan then has Arsenal away, so we probably wouldn't play him in that, to be honest. So we can then, if let's say Kane does or looks lively, maybe he doesn't get anything, but he still looks good, we could then take out St. Maximin, bring in Harry Kane, and then we can do either one of two things. We can get rid of Ramsdale at that point, because I think Guaita longer term is probably better, and bring in Foster. Or if we think that Ramsdale could still, do well, and maybe he goes up in price or something like that, we could, if Diaz isn't looking great, we can get rid of him. We can drop Tony down to a Broha, but let's say Ramsdale goes up in price, we get the value we wanted. We bring in Ben Foster. We then have Kane for these run of 3 fixtures here. We would do nothing when Kane plays Brentford, and then in Gameweek 15 we would have 2 free transfers. We would then probably do some type of setup of some kind, and that would mainly involve along the lines of basically Raul Jimenez to Antonio, and then we'd need to find a cash cow somewhere to whereas we could have a little bit extra funds, because we want to bring in Ronaldo in game week 16 onwards when Kane's fixtures get slightly worse, if we were to go for Harry Kane, because we definitely want Antonio back for game week 16 onwards. And that may be something along the lines of getting rid of Rafinha, and bringing in Bowen, and then the following week, we could take a hit this week, getting rid of Diaz and bring in someone else, and then the following week we just do one swap transfer for Ronaldo. There's many different ways we can slice it as well. Also, we could just do, if one of the Crystal Palace guys are looking good, so like Eze's back and he's looking good. Palace from 16 onwards look pretty good. We like those fixtures. Maybe we go for Eze. If we've gained some value on the player on Kane by that point, we could sell him for an extra 0.1, which would be nice. And then we could get in Ronaldo, who we would only be 0.1 off, which is why these 0.1s are kind of important. So if we'd sold Ramsdale for that extra 0.1, then we'd be okay. I did the transfer. Just back it. That's all. That's what I would say. Just back the transfer. If you feel that it's right for you, go for it. Don't let Twitter try to influence anything. Don't let ownership, unless it's Salah, convince you to do anything. It just bring in the players that you think are going to score the most points. If it follows a plan, go with that plan. So yeah, and then I would go from there. If City looks like they're not keeping clean sheets, like if City don't keep a clean sheet versus Everton and Villa probably, then it'd probably be a bit risky for this run, maybe, even though it looks easier. But we'll see how they get on. Another thing that we could also do is, instead of getting rid of Rafinha, basically when we have it'd be Kane here the following week, so we can go early on Kane, is what I'm saying. On Sunday if we wanted to, because the likelihood that Kane plays in that game, Kane could go up in price tonight coming, which doesn't look ideal. So that's a bit worrying. So we'd have to account for an extra 0.1 potentially. That's the annoying part, is that I thought the Kane probably wouldn't go up in price tonight, but it looks like he might well do, which could be very, very annoying if he does. So we would have to count for an extra 0.1 somewhere. So yeah, that would be very annoying, which might mean that we have to go with the Kane transfer early, but again, I don't think that should influence our decision. If we have to take out Diaz, we take out Diaz. That's just the way it kind of works. So if we go Guaita, and then Kane does go up in price. And we have 2 free transfers next week, and we can't do this. And maybe we just go for a 4.0 goalkeeper. It's not the end of the world. Foster being 0.1 off would be nice. But if we dodge a price increase for Kane tonight, then we'll be okay. If not, whatever. But also Ramsdale could have a worldie today, but still concede or something like that, and he might go up in price. We don't know. If I take a look, where is Ramsdale on the price thingamadoodle? Only 10.3 estimated. So, but yeah. I don't want to take any risk. If we have to take a hit and remove Diaz, because today would be the test. Do City keep a clean sheet versus Everton at home? Yes. Okay, cool. No. Then probably not the greatest. And then we move, and we also see if John Stones maintains his place as well, because we can also just do Stones. We can just do Stones and still keep our City defense. If we think that he's going to play game in, game out, we just hang on to Ramsdale, and that's another avenue that we could do it as well. If we think that the Spurs fullbacks are looking good, we can go down from Diaz to Reguilon or Royale as well. So the transfer that I'm going to make is Fernandes to Guaita, because I think that gives us the information, and we'll play Guaita today. So that's the 1 free transfer. Confirm transfers. And we will play Guaita over Ramsdale. And then everything else I think will be the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a screenshot of that so I can post it over on Twitter. If you bear with me just 1 second. Got to bring it up on the phone here. So pick team. Okay, got that. Lovely stuff. We have less than 2 minutes on the deadline stream. I'm going to open up a new window here. As well. I'm going to see if there's anything. If there's anything for potential starting news. I think Vardy's definitely starting today. Don't see anything else. But yeah, less than should be like 5 seconds basically until the deadline. So that is going to be the team for today. Guaita in goal, James, Chilwell, Trent, Cancelo vice cap because I like it, Diaz, Salah, Mbomo, Saint-Maximin, Jimenez, and Tony, with Ramsdale is probably going to punish me again, Rafinha, Smith Rowe, and Brownhill on the bench. I'm so scared about the transfer I did, but I promised myself this season to go with feeling. Still got 1.2 million in the bank, which makes me a little bit more flexible. Exactly. So yeah, just go with your feeling. If you feel that it's looking good, you trust in the CR7. He definitely normally should do well versus these sorts of teams, and Watford aren't great defensively. So yeah, that should be the deadline, and it is. So yeah. Also to note, Sanchez will be back next week as well, because he's only suspended for one game. But yeah, I like how they did this. I like how they did this little splash page. So yeah, let us know how you're feeling in the comments when we post this over on YouTube. We'll post it shortly after this. But yeah, let's go talk about Fantasy Football Scout one more time before we sign off here. So, Fantasy Football Scout is fantastic. Members area, you saw some of the tables today, so why not sign up? It's great. And you can create your own custom tables. I've set mine as public, so you can see them and use them if you would like as well. But you can create many more different tables and go really in depth. So, yeah, make sure to sign that up. It's in the About section or in the link in the description below if you're watching this over on YouTube as well. So, let's move over to the big screen. My heart would love CR7 smashed. My FPL team wouldn't like it though. Hey, if Ronaldo scores, I'm gonna be happy because I'm a United fan. So, you know, United need to win the game versus Watford, and if they don't, that's kind of a problem. So yeah, I hope that Ronaldo scores in 10 today. I'd be happy for you, Zodiac, and I'd also be happy because Ronaldo scored 10, and it'd be definitely Golden Boot winner, I think, if he did that. But yeah. No worries about the help, and thank you all for watching. It's been a great deadline stream. We're back. Going to be more streams, less videos as we get closer and closer to the Christmas period. I did post a schedule. I'm not sure if I pinned it. Let me actually double check that, if I pinned the schedule or not on my if I did pin it. No, I still have the Fantasy Football Scout thing pinned. But basically, I posted like the schedule, and basically as it gets closer and closer to the Christmas period, I'm gonna be doing more and more streams because it's less and less time in between, you know, these sorts of things. But like. Here, I'll leave you with this one. Let's Talk FPL has over 250,000 subscribers. You may know him as Andy. All the models said Son. He posted the values in Son. My transfer plan looked better with Son. The squad looked better with Son. Sometimes the heart wants what it wants, and he has Kane in his team. So, just like Zodiac, you go with what your heart wants. You go with what makes sense for you. So yeah. It's gonna be an interesting one. And Ben Krellin, some of you might know, he's fantastic. Follow him on Twitter for fixture news. That's gonna be more important later on. He went Vardy to Diaz, Vardy and Diaz to Kane and Reece James. So he didn't have double Chelsea defense. So yeah, very, very good stuff. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.